I'm here in Nairobi, the capital of the East African nation of Kenya. Kenya has become a spiritual battleground over the issues of sexuality, comprehensive sexuality education and abortion, with the West pouring in money into NGOs in Kenya in order to corrupt the people and to change the laws. They're interfering in the internal affairs of Kenya. We're going to find out who they are and who's funding them. So this is Amboseli Road in Nairobi, in posh Lavington, and over there is number 849. That is the headquarters of the Kenya Human Rights Commission. It was headed until recently by the ebullient George Kigoro. He's now left to join the Open Society Foundations, and curiously enough, in 2016, Open Society Foundations gave the Kenya Human Rights Commission $160,000. Now, it started as a real human rights organisation, but in 2011 it went pro-gay, and that is when the money started pouring in. The Ford Foundation gave them $1 million in 2012, and the money hasn't stopped. Recently, the Sigrid Rousing Trust in the UK gave them £405,000 spaced over 3 years. So being pro-gay in the eyes of these foreign funders is a good thing if you want to raise money. And that's what they've been doing. And of course they've been joining in with every action to overturn the anti-sodomy provisions in the Kenya Penal Code. So I'm outside Rousing Court in Muringa Road, inevitably in Nairobi's posh Lavington. These are the headquarters of Uhai Ishri. Uhai is the Swahili for life, and Ishri stands for the East African Sexual Health and Rights Initiative. Now, this fairly newly formed organisation bills itself as the only indigenous funding apparatus for East Africa. But of course, this claim of theirs to be an indigenous funding operation is, as you might have guessed, economical with the truth. Their turnover is in the millions, but they're raising it from, here we go, Arcus Foundation from Michigan, USA, Astria Lesbian Foundation for Justice from New York, Bearing Foundation, based in London, they gave them $760,000. The Ford Foundation has given them $1,765,750. Give Out London, founded by a Cambridge graduate, has given them money. They give no details. Waishi give no details. The Tides Foundation from San Francisco in the States. This is a foreign agent operating here in Nairobi, Kenya, advocating pro-sodomy and pro-CSC policies, interfering in the internal affairs of a sovereign nation. So these are, or were, the premises of PEMA, People Marginalised and Aggrieved, it stands for. Now, they are marginalised, or so they say, because they want to commit acts of depravity which are forbidden by Kenyan law, and so they are aggrieved. They are marginalised, so they say, but they can afford posh premises in one of the poshest parts of Mombasa, Nyali. So that money's coming from somewhere, and it's not coming from Kenya. They are supported very well indeed by the Arcus Foundation in the United States of America. And Arcus tell us what they're doing. They're engaged in strategic litigation. In other words, they're trying to change the law to decriminalise acts of sodomy in Kenya. The other thing that they are doing is they insinuate themselves into government-run committees on HIV, meetings with pastors and imams, and they keep quiet about homosexuality, maybe for the first 2 or 3 meetings, and then they start to come out and they start to browbeat the pastors and the imams into accepting their way of life. So all of a sudden they have what they call allies amongst the pastors and the imams, who then start advocating for them. It's an insidious process, and it's all being done with money from the West. In other words, this PEMA is nothing more than a foreign agent. So this is the big one. This is a National Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission in Arboretum Drive, just off State House Road here in Nairobi. Don't worry, it's not a commission in any sense of the word. It's just a bunch of homosexual activists supported by money from the West. They engage in strategic litigation high-profile public interest litigation on education and decriminalisation of consensual same-sex conduct. They have a full-time staff of 6 lesbians, headed by one Jerry Gateru, and they feel they have to announce the pronouns of them all. Yeah, they're all she, her, since you ask. Then they have an advisory council of another 6 people. One of them, Dr. Brian Bichanga, is busy lobbying professional bodies. So they have their feelers out into everything. They're also lobbying members of Parliament on equality. Who are they funded by? American Jewish World Service, the Arcus Foundation, the Astria Lesbian Foundation for Justice in New York, the Canadian High Commission, would you believe, the Church World Service from New York, COC Netherlands, which claims to be the oldest existing LGBT organisation in the world. They're funded by the Council for Global Equality in Washington, Diakonia in Sweden, the Equal Rights Trust in London, Frontline AIDS in Brighton, the Danish Family Planning Association, Give Out in London. They're funded by the Heinrich Böll Foundation in Germany, Global Action for Trans Equality, so they have their fingers in trans promotion as well, the Human Rights Watch from New York, Human Dignity Trust in London, International Trans Fund in Canada, Iranti.org in South Africa, the Kios Foundation in Finland, who gave them €172,000 from 2023 to 26, Open Society Foundations in Washington, Outright International, the Tides Foundation from San Francisco, USA, the Sigrid Rousing Trust from London, inevitably, and the Wellspring Philanthropic Fund. Oh yes, I forgot, Uhai Ishri. It is happening all over Africa. There is not one pro-sodomy NGO anywhere in Africa, Asia or the Caribbean which is not supported completely solely by money from the West. So here in the UK we're going to find just one of the Western foundations pouring money into promoting wickedness across the developing world. And here it is. This is the headquarters of the Sigrid Rousing Trust in London's Holland Park, number 12 Penzance Place. Inauspicious building. You wouldn't even know that it was the Sigrid Rousing Trust from the information on the door. They ploughed something like almost £6 million into those pro-sodomy NGOs in Kenya alone over the past 10 or 11 years. We're talking about groups like the Kenya Human Rights Commission, £640,000 since 2019. The Kelin, £580,000 since 2021 alone. National Committee Human Rights Defenders have received £1,395,000 since 2019 alone. Inanda, Mombasa-based pro-sodomy group, £375,000 since 2018. Uhai Ishri, the funding group, have received £2 million sterling since 2013. Last but not least, the National Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission have received £755,000 since 2017. So in the last year alone, Sigrid Rousing Trust have ploughed £135,000 into the Kenya Human Rights Commission, £160,000 into Kelin, £250,000 into Human Rights Defenders, £65,000 into INN, £250,000 to Uhai Ishri, and to the National Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission, no less than £100,000 sterling. That's a total of £960,000 in 1 year alone. Not shillings, pounds sterling. And Sigrid Rousing Trust is just one of the foreign foundations of foreign governments pouring money into NGOs promoting sodomy in Kenya. No wonder this lot have so much money they can afford the strategic litigation they're doing to try to overturn righteous Kenyan law. Time does not even permit us to look at organisations like the Gay and Lesbian Coalition of Kenya, GALC, funded by all the usual suspects who don't even give their land address nor publish their accounts. Doesn't allow us to expose INEND, the Initiative to End Discrimination, which has given money to motorcycle riders, the border as they call them here, to wear their t-shirts. Money has changed hands, and it's Western money because INEND again is funded by the Sigrid Rousing Trust, as we know that they've made them wear their t-shirts because of a picture published on the Sigrid Rousing Trust website. Important point is that we've only found out about the funding from those Western foundations which are honest enough to publish their accounts and show who their recipients are. That's Sigrid Rousing Trust, Ford Foundation, to a certain extent the Bering Foundation. All the others are just so secretive with their money, and the NGOs here, if they publish their accounts at all, which the NGLHRC last did in I think 2022, they just list their income as a blanket, in their case 54 million Kenyan shillings, without naming any of their donors. So they're not transparent, and transparency is the key here. We need to know who is funding them and how much money they're receiving, and if they're receiving nearly all of their money from the West, then they are a foreign agent, make no mistake about that, and they are all interfering in the internal affairs of Kenya. This is Stephen Green for Christian Voice in Nairobi, Kenya.